both very, very competitive, and everything that we did, there was some sort of win or loss attached to it.
We had a policy that we would not clean the dishes until every clean dish was used.
It's quite bizarre, 15 years later, that we've ended up coaching against each other.
What a win for the Crows!
We fit in fairly well as housemates, but we just got by as 20-year-olds generally do.
A couple of boys who were great mates for a long time, vision from the NAB Cup. But this week it's mate against mate and basically state against state. And Nathan Buckley is going to be a serious player in that game. Welcome to you, Nathan.
All right, Jared. Gents.
What a fantastic atmosphere and occasion to meet a great old mate in Brenton Sanderson. They're flying and you've started to find your best form.
Yeah, it is. We had a dress rehearsal in the NAB Cup and they knocked us over by 70 points or so. So, and clearly have continued their fantastic form. It's great to see a good friend of mine succeeding, but hopefully not this weekend.
Bucks, you're fifth with 6 wins from 8 starts, which sounds very good, but I'm a big believer in percentage as a really key indicator. You're only 107.9, which is 9th on the list and marginally ahead of Richmond. You're just going, aren't you, at the moment?
Yeah, we still believe that our best football is ahead of us. Probably the 2 best wins we've had were on Friday night and against Essendon on Anzac Day. And I think in both of those games we felt like we had control of the game for the majority of it, but we still had to win both of them in the last minute and a half. So I think that's an indication of where we're at. And I think our grunt and our contested ball's been very good, but just lacking a bit of polish.
Pendlebury, Swan, probably side bottom, maybe a little bit of Shaw. Are they covering up a few cracks in amongst the rest of them?
No, I think we've had great contribution from young players that wouldn't have been rated before the season began, that have been able to come in and play very important roles for us. And it takes a collective of 22 each week to get the job done. You can only beat the opposition in front of you, and we've been able to do that more often than not in recent times.
Talking about Pendlebury, he's the most efficient player I think I've ever seen. I mean, he doesn't waste movement. He doesn't waste... I mean, you guys would obviously dissect his games a lot more than we do, but I don't think I've seen a more efficient player. Even when he kicks goals from outside 50, there's very little arm movement and leg movement, and he's just an incredibly efficient footballer.
Yeah, well, he's... I made the comment straight after the game that I didn't think that he ever had the game on Friday night on his terms. He really needed to grind out that performance. 30 touches and 4 goals later, I mean, he had a massive influence on the contest. He hasn't kicked a lot of goals this year, but as soon as you highlight a potential deficiency or an area that he could improve, it's amazing how quickly he rectifies it and how hard he works on it. And he really is the consummate professional. If
you didn't have 2 injuries before that, would he have gone back on Friday night, given that he had it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I got a shock when I saw the ice pack on his leg. His idea was that he was reducing the swelling as much as he possibly could so that he was 0.5% better to run out the last quarter. So that's just a sort of an insight into the mind of the bloke.
And Keith has been a really good player for you. Tell us a bit about his background. I think he's a soccer player, a volleyball player.
Yeah, he's a soccer player. He was actually a top-up player at the AIS camp that I first worked at in 2008. He and Zach Smith were the 2 Queensland players from that division that had come into the camp as just for the November camp. And at that stage, left foot, right foot, had a good feel for the game, but it was obviously very raw. He's been able to come through the system. He's played every game this year when he was probably going to be behind Tarrant, Brown and Reid. We've got 10 games out of those 3 players, and out of those 10 games, 4 of them haven't been finished because they've been injured early. So Lockie Keefe's had to stand up in an undersized backline, and he's done particularly well.
When are you going to tell Daisy Thomas to grow his hair? I mean, he's just a different player with the hair colour, I reckon. I know they're totally incidental, but his form must be of concern to you, is it?
He's 1 game back off a hamstring.
I understand that, but I'm talking... I understand that. But before that, he hasn't got the sparkle, to me. He hasn't played with the sparkle this year at all.
No, look, he hasn't played his best form. I think he walked under the bleach tree. I think that's what happened to him last week. But look, he's a heart and soul player. Talking about behind the goals vision, I saw some signs of his hard running on Friday night that we've come to love and know, and sort of require at Collingwood, and I've got no doubt that he'll be okay in the next couple of weeks.
Bucks taking the job over after Mick was always going to be a massive challenge, and everyone was, I think, not everyone, but a lot of people were there waiting behind bushes. They're going to mark you hard, and if you don't win a premiership, you're probably always going to be seen to have failed. But it seemed to me the most significant moment in your years to date was when you used diplomacy and your press conference following the Malthouse and Maguire fracas to amazing benefit to not just you but to the club. And it seems to me everybody is post that just embraced you as a coach.
I think it helps to win, to be winning games. I mean, 5 wins helps. Look, we've had our challenges early on in this season, but I've been enormously proud of the players' performances. You know, we've used the depth of our list that no one thought we had. We've played 33 players. So we've been able to, I think I've been wrapped with the coaching group. I've really enjoyed how we're coming together, and our playing list is still developing, and sort of we're building into this year. So to be a part of that, and as I said, to be winning, it keeps the Wolves at bay. And you're giving us a few highlights in the box as well, which I didn't think we were going to see. I reckon both you and Hurdy might have tried to molly yourself on Roosie, Stony Face. But this is the sort of stuff I reckon is the true Bucks. It's that enthusiasm coming through.
Is that enthusiasm, is it?
Oh, I think it's well
That's called frustration.
Call it what you like. Look, I thought I'd be a lot more passive in the box. I thought that I thought they'd be able to control it and maintain that stoic.
What frustrates you the most? What makes you pick the
It's actually a little bit of excitement up there as well, mate. But look, what frustrates you the most, I think, is early on. I mean, I've got 8 games of experience as an AFL coach, but half the time you're sort of making sure that the messages that you've sent are the ones that actually get through. Right? It's making sure that you're very confident in your runners and the people on the bench that your words are getting out.
That's why I went down
players.
the bench.
Yeah, well, look, and I think we're gaining confidence.
Yeah.
I'm gaining confidence. Jeff Walsh is on the other end of the line, and he's got a great deal of experience, and he's been fantastic. And look, as I said, our box is working very well despite the histrionics.
Just about the tactics and where the game's at, Bucks. I mean, obviously we've seen some really hard forward pressing teams, including probably St Kilda than yourselves.
Yeah.
But the game seems to be changing a little bit. I mean, West Coast is still doing it very much, but there seems to be a lot more one-on-one. Is that the concern now about those long bombs going out of defence, onto the wing, breakthrough, and there's so many more easy goals that are kicked, and teams are a lot better prepared against the press?
Yeah, the offence has adapted, hasn't it, to what the defence has shown over the last couple of years. I think most sides now are loath to be caught on the back foot in their defensive 50, so they're taking a few more risks. They've got strategies in order to move the ball, 25 metres and then a quick handball and then another 55. So you're more than a possession away from your goals. You're nearly into your positive territory. So the offence has come a certain way. The defence needs to adjust, and I think the game's in a really good state at the moment with a good balance between both.
Bucks, the Travis Cloke situation, do you believe all the speculation is affecting his performance?
Oh, something is. He's not playing his best at the moment, and he's only human. He's a big unit. He's got the weight of the world on his shoulders at times, as all high performers do. Look, I think it would be taking a toll on him in some way. And I suppose that's where you rely on the strength of the football club and your teammates and the coaches around to simplify your role and to make it as enjoyable as possible, because there are times in a football career when it's not so enjoyable, and some of it's in his control and some of it isn't. But I'm pretty confident we'll get a really strong performance from him on Saturday night. In some ways, your defenders over the last few years have been protected by the forward press. You've always been able to have that extra man float back, but under the one-on-one pressure, Harry O'Brien seems to have just been exposed a little bit. Is it something you're addressing with him? Is it something you're dressing up the ground, trying to give him some protection? He seems to be losing his player more and more, and particularly on the weekend. Yeah, look, early in the game in particular, I mean, Harry was beaten one-on-one. Ben Reid and Lockie Keefe were on Podsiadly and Hawkins respectively, and they were beaten on the lead in the first quarter. if you're not defending well at the source, and whether that's out of a stoppage in the midfield or whether it's 20 metres from your own goal with the forwards putting some pressure on, I think your defenders generally are going to be either benefit or be challenged by how well you defend up the field. And we haven't done that as well as we would have liked. I think we're building into that. The last couple of weeks we've been a little bit better. But our defenders definitely respond to that, and they're asked to win some pretty key contests as a result.
Bucks, everyone in the English-speaking world 7 days ago was tipping the demise of Geelong just before you were to play them. Have we rushed in too early? You saw them firsthand Friday night. Are they as good as they were, do you think?
Well, you're talking to a footy club that wasn't able to knock them over last year in 3 attempts. So we're rapt to have had the result that we had on Friday night. We knew that the Cats were going to come at some stage, and they were able to, late in that last quarter. They showed their spirit and their drive and their competitiveness. And look at the names on the page and on the oval, and you know that they're going to have a real crack. Chris Scott's the best man to give you that feedback. And the win-loss would suggest that they're going to be challenged, but I wouldn't be writing them off. What
were the things you were most disappointed? Because they did turn it around that last quarter, didn't they? They really came at you and got in front, and credit to your guys to lift. But what were the things you were most disappointed in that part of the game?
I think we weren't able to control the ball well enough. We were on our heels in our back half, and we were probably gassing out a little bit. We lost Swanee in the first couple of minutes of that quarter, and Ben Reid about 10-minute mark. We were left to one rotation, and we just weren't able to organise ourselves well enough to get off the ropes for a period of time. And ironically, it was when a goal was kicked towards the end. We had 2 minutes left. The ball was back in the middle. We were closer to our goals than we had been for the 10 minutes prior to that, so it gave us a chance.
The difficulties of Josh Hunt on the night have been well documented, but we had a number of people emailing us here on the couch wanting us to have a look at his night, which could have been even worse on the interchange. If you take a look here, there's Josh Hunt, and he goes outside the line. Now, I'm not sure what he was thinking about at that stage, but luckily for him, I think you get a fine. You don't get the goal if you go on that side, in between those two lines, and that's been the innovation, I guess, it's been brought in.
Is that a question?
Can I ask you, how many times do you talk to your players about the interchange? Because it would seem to me to be a fairly simplistic task to go through two lines.
Well, we've got a person on the bench, Billy Carp. Bill Bacilli's his mate, and two Bills. Billy Carp, who his responsibility is to make sure for the 150 interchanges that we have that no one puts a toenail over the edge of that line. So it is a high pressure job, and it's a little bit different from the 40 rotations that we might have seen 5 or 6 years ago. But the interchange gates look different this year than they did the year before. They seem to change quite regularly.
And you don't like that change that much. Great to have you on the show, Bucks. We look forward to a few more frustrating moments in the box. Good luck for the rest of the year.
Thanks very much. Cheers.